Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Karen got slapped. Okay, so this only just happened a few hours ago, and I still have a bit of an adrenaline rush, so bear with me. As everyone is bound to know, shopping lately has been a little hectic. The mass crowding has gotten better now that there are limitations on how many people can enter a shop at one point. But everyone is still pretty stressed out and all dolled up in their lovely fashionable face masks. All that being said, there is no excuse for what this woman did. I live in England and over here we have a certain big supermarket store with a burgundy/orange themed uniform. So after finally getting through the queue into the store, I grabbed the cart and I was off. I was there for maybe 20 minutes when I rounded the condiments aisle and got what happened. First, there was a woman, younger looking, maybe a teenager, who was wearing an orange jacket, but it looked like one of those bright neon tracksuit ones. Not a uniform, crouching down on her knees looking through whatever was on the lowest level. I do that sometimes. The cheaper stuff tends to be from food companies who can't afford the premium shelf space. And she was wearing earbuds. Next, there was an older woman. Not a Karen in the typical haircut, overweight, overdressed sense. But she did have that face. That too important to be kept waiting, serve me now peasant face. And no mask. She was standing behind this clearly oblivious girl. She had to have been trying to get her attention before I even walked into the aisle. And for some reason, the moment I appeared, she snapped. I'll never know what possessed her, but this older lady actually reached down and grabbed the younger by her underarm, yanking her off to face her. The girl reacted as I believe many people would, without even asking questions. She yelped, spun off balance, and clocked Karen right in the face. It was glorious. The woman's nose started bleeding and the young lady was just standing there in shock. Someone loudly announced that they were going to go get an employee, while I put myself between the Karen and the young girl, fearing the older woman may try to retaliate. The girl looked dumb with shock, meanwhile Karen started screaming. I didn't really catch what she was trying to say in the haze of it all, but I know a bloke behind me was shouting back at her, telling her she shouldn't have grabbed the girl and that it was her own fault. More screaming, then the employees showed up. From there, it was just a matter of getting everyone's stories. Pretty much everyone who stuck around, so Karen grabbed the girl first. So Karen had no leg to stand on. Though it didn't stop her from demanding the police to be called and that she was going to press charges. The police had already been called by a manager, and us witnesses were asked to stay and wait for them. Some couldn't, as they were with their families and such, but I, having nothing better to do, stuck around. At this point the girl had calmed down. I was just kind of standing there silently while the woman continues to scream about pressing charges and suing and fired, while the manager just kept on repeating things like, "She doesn't work here, ma'am. Please calm down, ma'am." The police questioning was actually pretty fast, if boring. Not at all as interesting as it is in the movies. I didn't get to see a grand parade of Karen being dragged away in cuffs. Sadly, once all the statements had been taken, those women were escorted outside by police. And that was pretty much the end of it for me. I did still see them in the parking lot speaking to different officers, but couldn't get close enough to hear anything that went down. I made sure the police and the store had my number, just in case. Finished my shopping and then went home. It was surreal and I'm actually kind of hoping it ends up on YouTube in the next few days. So there is my story. Hope it entertained. Next story is an update to a story we read a couple of days ago. It was titled Entitled Mother Steals and Pawns Her Daughter's Promise Ring. To summarize, for those who don't remember, my entitled aunt stole my cousin's promise ring at a pool party and pawned it for not even half the original price so she could go out. A lot has happened these past few days, as kind of all over the place. Also a few quick clarifications from questions and messages on my last story. Kat is not a minor. She's 19, about to turn 20, as currently in college. She only moved back in with her mom for the summer until she could find an apartment close to the school. She will be staying with me and my mom now, and most of her stuff is in storage from moving, so the entitled mother cannot get to any of it. Also, this is not the first time the entitled mother has stolen from her family. If she doesn't receive enough handouts, she's been known to invite herself into our house and help herself to whatever she can get. Mostly food though. Most of my valuable stuff is locked away in my room since she's been caught snooping before and has made comments on my spending habits. Had I thought about it, I would have locked up the ring as well, but we had only been in the pool for an hour and the ring was hidden under her stuff. So we foolishly thought it would be safe. Now that out of the way, onto the update. It took almost 2 days for Kat to get confirmation that the pawn shop had a ring and explain what happened to see what she could do to get it back. They told her that if she could bring them proof that she was the original owner of the ring, they'll be able to give it back to her and that they could hold it until then. Obviously, this would have been a bit tricky since the ring was a gift, so Kat's ex-boyfriend ended up getting involved. She called him and explained what happened, while asking if he kept any receipt for the ring, and he was happy to help. He ended up going down to the pawn shop with the documentation from when he brought the ring to prove it was his, and he got it back for her. Kat had actually been against filing a police report at first, since she was just relieved to have the ring back, and she was also scared of her mom's reaction, but he convinced her to do it. Not only does her ex hate the entitled mother, but he was beyond pissed that she would go after something so valuable. It turns out that the original price of the ring was just below $800, and she had sold it for not even $300. It also turns out that where we live, all bought items are supposed to be uploaded to a database with serial numbers so the police department can more easily track stolen goods or illegal ones. This means the police could easily look into that database with the reports from both Kat and the pawn shop and confirm the ring was there. The text messages and calls from the entitled mother to us during this time also serve as proof that she knew the ring was stolen, and so she can't lie her way out of it. Because the ring was valued at over $500, the entitled mother will be looking at up to 18 months in prison and a $5,000 fine just for stealing the ring. Possibly even more, as she has now taken and used all the funds given to her from when she pawned the ring, so she could be potentially charged by the shop as well. For the first few days, the entitled mother tried to argue her case to anyone that would listen, but eventually gave up and went back to spoiling herself. Apparently, she truly believed that she had done nothing wrong and that Kat would eventually just get over herself and go back home. I am not sure what she did with the money, but she had maybe $50 left, and she said she would use the money to buy Kat a replacement ring because she's feeling generous and wants to keep the peace. Needless to say, she wasn't feeling so generous when she found out about the report. She threw a massive tantrum and tried to guilt-trip Kat into dropping it because she couldn't do that to her poor mother. On top of the jail time, there is no way she will be able to afford the fine, given she literally lives off of handouts, so she's in a lot of trouble. She has been crying to the rest of the family for sympathy, and sadly enough, most of them are enablers and took her side. Kat's phone has been blowing up with messages from family calling her selfish and an awful daughter for putting her mother in this situation. Because she's already struggling. She just ended up blocking them and is trying to relax after a very stressful week and then look for apartments so she can move out and fully cut ties with her mother and the family members harassing her. It's been messy for everyone, but I'm just happy she got her ring back and the entitled mother is finally getting what she deserves. Next story. I'm the delivery guy, not a Porsche pirate. This just happened and I had to post it. My husband and I both work for Amazon Flex, which has freelance drivers deliver packages to different areas that are a little off the beaten path. This way, everyone, even those who live in tiny forgotten towns that are surrounded by cornfields, will get their packages in a timely manner. Today, my husband, who I'll refer to as husband, was doing a block in such an area. It's early in the day and the car is full of packages when he entered small town. It was a kind of place that had a post office, a gas station, an old mill and a sheriff. It's the place where everyone knows everyone because they are related by blood or marriage. So when my husband starts making stops at houses in town in an unfamiliar car, everyone noticed. Husband doesn't even realize that he's being watched. It's just another stop on his delivery route. Then he goes to drop a package at a house at the end of a dead-end road. He does a drop at the door, sends the notice to the customer that the package has been delivered, and gets back in the car to go to the next stop. Except, the road is now being blocked by a sheriff's car. Husband stops and the sheriff approaches him, telling him that he had received some calls about him, a suspicious man that was going from house to house and had packages in his vehicle. Husband gives him his ID and tells him that I work for Amazon. I just delivered the package to that house back there, and these other packages are for other customers. The sheriff takes a look at husband's ID, then his phone to take a look at the app. Then the sheriff looks at his own phone before going to the house. The husband just left to see if the package was there, and the sheriff then looks past husband and sees someone watching them. The husband describes a look sheriff gave the person as a mix of course, and are you messing with me? Sheriff then tells the husband that he had been accused of being a Porsche pirate before stomping past husband to scream at the person watching them. The sheriff apparently not only knew the person who called to report the husband as a Porsche pirate, but the delivery husband had just done was to the sheriff at his house. The sheriff went off on the nosy neighbor about don't they have anything better to do, wasting police time, and how yes, he was sure that husband was telling the truth since he had received a delivery notice on his phone, and the package was on his Porsche. The sheriff came back to husband, thanked him for his time, and sent him on his way. The husband was annoyed that he was held up for over 20 minutes, but I think the story was worth it. Next story. Entitled Cousin thinks his daughter needs to play with my collector doll. Entitled Cousin and I are close, and I love him dearly. But he spoils his daughter rotten and lets her do whatever she wants ever since he got divorced. As a result, she's kind of a brat. I collect Disney Store dolls, and every time they come over, his daughter sneaks into my room and plays with my dolls. I didn't want to say anything, but she plays roughly with dolls. It has messed up their hair on a few and broken a leg off of one. So I bought some other dolls and gave them to her to play with, so she didn't grab any of mine. Recently, I bought a limited edition doll. They are expensive and a collector's item. I placed the limited edition doll high up on the shelf and always closed the door to where I stored the dolls because it was common for Entitled Cousin and his daughter to come over with no notice. Yesterday, Entitled Cousin and his kid came over, and the daughter went straight to where I stored my dolls. She saw the limited edition doll and wanted to play with it, attempting to climb the shelf. I tell her, "Oh no, hon, don't do that. You'll get yourself hurt."
But I wanna play with that doll.
She points to the limited edition doll. "Oh, sorry dear, but you can't play with that doll. It's very expensive and she isn't meant to be played with."
Are you serious? It's a doll. It's a kid's plaything.
"Look, it's fine if she plays with the other dolls, I don't care. But she can't play with that one. It's a limited edition doll and it's a collector's item."
Daddy, I want that doll.
At this point, she was about to throw a tantrum. "I'm sorry, but hey, why don't you play with the other dolls I gave you? They are much better than that doll."
No, it isn't. I want it now.
Then the entitled cousin says to me, Always with your toys, cuz. Let her play with it. She's not going to mess it up." Me now getting angry, hey. She can play with any other doll except that one. Please respect that. The daughter began throwing a temper tantrum at this point because I was the only other person besides her mom to utter the awful, horrid, disgraceful word of no. The entitled cousin says to me, "I'll get it myself then. All my daughter wants is to play with a toy." I tried to stop the entitled cousin, but once he put his weight on the shelf, it fell. A mess of dolls was on the floor. At this point, I was pissed. I grabbed the limited edition doll before his daughter could and told him to leave. The entitled cousin just rolled his eyes at me, said I was immature, and he left, slamming the door behind him. My aunt, the mom of the entitled cousin, came over to help me pick and set everything up again, and she apologized for her son's behavior. I told her it wasn't her fault, and I took her to a nice restaurant as thanks. Over dinner, she told me that this wasn't the first time the entitled cousin had done this. His daughter broke a vase which was important to my grandfather, and the entitled cousin blamed grandfather for not putting it somewhere safe just a week ago. She promised she's going to discipline him well and punish him for this entitled behavior. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.